surreal to be at the last week of the season?
Just focus on the game. Just doing everything we can to find a way to win.
Is it challenging at all to make sure everyone's locked in on that and not thinking?
I haven't found that at all. It's been great energy from our guys. Helpful that we've won the last two. I think to keep the energy up at this point of the year, but everybody's been great.
Do you think there's value in winning these games to show the front office, hey, this offseason, if we make a couple of moves, we can be right back where we were?
We're not showing anybody. We're all in this thing together, so I don't think there's any need to show anybody anything.
Zach, I know we talked a couple weeks ago about how you evaluate all the quarterbacks in the draft. When you guys have looked at Shedeur Sanders, what stood out to you as something that, impressed you about him, and from what you've seen on film getting ready from this Sunday?
Well, I think he elevated a program. He certainly helped bring a lot of eyes to Colorado because they did some great things when he was there. And, I'm never going to call myself a Colorado fan, and I was watching their games, as a Nebraska guy. So, I thought that he did a great job, in collaboration with a lot of other people that really did a great job at Colorado. And so then for him to come in the league and as a rookie have success, I think is really impressive. And so again, we've got a tough task in front of us, and he's done a really good job, and he's got confidence. He's obviously got a lot of reps under his belt now, and he's made a lot of plays for these guys.
I know there's only so much you're kind of looking at guys, in day three. Was there any surprise in that room when a guy like Shedeur fell as far as he did, especially to a division rival, knowing that you're probably going to face him at some point?
I don't really have a great response to that.
How do you view Barrett and Demetrius entering 2026, now 10, 15 starts into their individual careers?
Yeah, just finish this season strong, and just keep making progress like they have been over the course of the season. So that's really the focus right now is one more great work today, and then we'll focus on tomorrow and make sure that we just finish the season the right way. And then next spring we'll evaluate all that stuff that needs to be evaluated.
Quietly, special teams has been one of the top ranked in the league.
Yep.
What has caught your eye about it?
Well, I've really, I agree with that all season. I've really felt that the last couple of weeks, especially. That's been really strong just on kickoff coverage. In general, you're seeing every team in the league right now is there's a kickoff that's getting to the 40 occasionally. That's just the way it's going right now. But I feel like they've done a really good job limiting the field position. I think punting, we've gotten several punts now down inside the 5 over the last couple of weeks. Our coverage units have been really strong. We've gotten good returns. Obviously, Darren and Ben do an outstanding job of getting everybody organized, and our guys are totally bought in. And it's given us an advantage. And I really feel like we've had an advantage in special teams, and that's a credit to Darren and Ben and everybody that's been a part of that unit.
Seem to have survived some injuries to, Shaka, TJ, guys who were,
Yeah.
who were key guys. They kind of survived that.
Yeah, and I think we've had, guys that maybe were on the practice squad for us that have stepped up as well. And again, I really think Darren does a great job of getting everybody ready because he's been a part of this a long time and he knows how it works, especially as you get later in the year and you're going to have to utilize different people. And so he's done a good job putting him in the right spot and getting the most out of him.
When you're going to take growing pains and you're building towards something, at the end of the season, what are you hoping that looks like? That process, what does that process look like at the end of the season? What are you hoping that looks like?
That's helping us win games. That's the biggest thing for me.
When you're looking at assessing the growth of some of those guys through those growing pains, what are you hoping you see from them at the end of the year versus when they were, put in their roles early?
That they just made continued improvement throughout every single week.
You feel like you've seen that a lot from the young guys that you played this year?
Absolutely. Yep.
Over the last 2 weeks, you've gotten a chance to look at your second team, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
What do you thought? What was your evaluation of kind of those units?
Well, it can be tough circumstances because oftentimes the offense goes out there, we're trying to run the ball. And so you're trying to get first downs without throwing it, and that can be a challenge because they know you're doing that. So their backs are against the wall a little bit. So it can be a tough evaluation. You're evaluating the technique and our targeting and all that kind of stuff. Defensively, obviously, the ball's in the air a lot, so we're having to defend a lot of plays, typically on the ball, 2-minute stuff that they haven't really worked since training camp. So we want stops. We don't want to give up the late fourth quarter touchdowns like we have the last 2 weeks. So we still have a high standard there. Offensively, we still want to put points on the board. All the while, though, you're getting an opportunity just to see guys go out there and compete and communicate and utilize the technique that's being taught to him and the communication skills and we want to not allow points and create a turnover and go get some points on the board on offense as well.
How'd you evaluate Joe Flacco's run and dive?
It was good. You know, he did everything he needed to get done, to get the job done, and that's all we needed on that play is get the first down and keep the sticks moving. And so, as a fellow 40-year-old man, it's impressive. You know, I can't do that.
With the calendar year coming to a close, what's your New Year's resolution?
To beat Cleveland.
Keyshawn Williams has been here for 2 weeks. He's had a big return in each game. He got a game ball last week. Has he done enough in a couple of weeks to be a guy that you want to, try to develop going forward?
Well, I think he's great in the role that he's been for us this season, especially with Charlie being out these last couple of weeks. And so, again, he's got great energy to him, like having him around. He's picked things up pretty quickly. The jet sweep I called to him in the Miami game was a spur of the moment. Let's give it to Keyshawn. And it wasn't until after the play I realized he might not know the word that we were saying in the huddle to give him the ball. And so I'd love to hear a mic'd up dialogue between him and Flacco of that communication. But I think he had done an excellent job. Speaks to him of studying the playbook and had seen it and got himself aware of it, and Troy or whoever had helped him. And so he's picked it up pretty quickly, and it's been fun to watch him make some plays.
Charlie, have a shot this week.
We'll see. I think with him and Osai, we'll keep letting, tomorrow and Friday play out and see where it ends up.
Given what the offense has gone through this year, 3 quarterbacks, what kind of year would you say Jemai had compared to last year? Even though, he doesn't have the numbers, but given what he went through this year, how would you?
Yeah, I would say he's got the numbers. He's just shy of last year in terms of the catches
Right.
and missed a game. I don't think last year he missed any games.
Right.
I think he is kind of like we talk about with Myles Garrett this week. I know other teams are talking about Jamar Chase, and the Bengals are going to get him the ball. We have to not allow him to get the ball. He still finds ways to get the ball, still finds ways to make plays, even when he's got a lot of attention on him. So I think he's had an outstanding season. And, to have the production that he's had, that we've always been able to rely on, and he's a hard piece to take away, and that's a credit to him because I've said this before, but you can utilize him in a million different ways because he's capable of understanding it all and it makes sense to him, and he studies. And if he didn't do that, then he'd be a lot more one spot. You put him in one spot, leave him in one spot, but because he can do it all, it allows you to move him around and get him touches.
Speaking of Miles, I'm sure you watched the Pittsburgh film and what the Steelers did. It felt like they really tried to take away Miles almost to an extent to where it kind of hurt their offense. How do you weigh that kind of balance?
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think every team goes in there with Myles Garrett on every single play. What are we going to do to limit him? And so I think, I've heard that a couple times about Pittsburgh just trying to win the game, and the way to do that is you have to limit Myles Garrett's effectiveness. And you watch every other tape that's been on all season, teams are doing everything they can to limit his effectiveness. Every run, every pass, every screen, every naked, it all has 95 in mind. And our plan has never been any differently. You want to limit his effectiveness, and he makes as much of an impact on a game as any player in the NFL, period. And so, again, you think about 95 in your head every second of every week you're playing the Cleveland Browns. You got to be ready for him.
Is that why they're such a tough matchup for you guys stylistically? Because
They're a tough matchup for every team they've ever played. And so, again, it always feels ugly when you play them because he's disruptive, their whole front's disruptive, their backers are fast and confident. They have outstanding cover corners. Denzel does a tremendous job as well as everybody else. And so they play to their scheme. They're not overly complicated, which is a positive for them. They play to their guys' strengths, and they do an outstanding job, and Schwartz does a great job of countering when he needs to. And so it's a challenge not just for us, but for every team we've ever seen on tape against them. And you got to be really smart when you play against them.
how big would it be for the offense to have another big week? You guys have had back-to-back huge weeks, really productive. To do it against a defense that is challenging.
Yeah, I focus. It's just I want a W on the scoreboard when this game's over. You know, I think it says Bengals win sometimes in the Jumbotron. I've gotten a picture with my family before out there, and so I want that after the game, you know, and that's the only focus for me.
I know winning is obviously the primary focus, but how much is, Sunday's opportunity against Miles on the defensive line a chance for you guys to kind of see how far this offensive line has grown that, from week 1 to now, because certainly it's gotten better as the season has gone on.
I wanted to see us finish on the note that we've had at the end of the season here, and so again, I've got a lot of confidence in the offensive line. They're up for the task, whether it's against the Browns defensive line or anybody. I've seen that from them, so I know what I'm going to get, and I've got a ton of respect for all the guys that line up in front of Joe and protect for him and block for him, and so I'm just again excited to watch these guys finish on a strong note.
Once you get through Sunday or Monday, at what point do you start evaluating the season as a whole and start going through and saying, look at what went right, what went wrong? What does that process look like?
I think that's a weekly process really for us as the season goes. We reflect on, so you're not just at the end of the season, let's look back at all 18 weeks. We got a good sense of that. So, we'll have our wrap-up meetings early next week with players, with coaches, with everybody in the building, and then you move on to the next phase of the offseason. And so that's really no different than what has been in the past. And I always look forward to that process. It's a change. You've been scheming all season and studying tape, and then you get to go on to the next phase and take a breath at some point. But there's still a lot of work to do, and I'm excited about it.
That being said, when you go back and look at the middle of the season, if there's one thing you wish you would have had back, given how you finished, what would you have liked, aside from Joe being healthy, more than anything?
Yeah, just there was a lot of games where in any phase we just needed to make one more play and we didn't do it. So that's closing out games. And that could have been a call. That could have been a lot of things. And but right now, again, those are things that we'll go back and watch all these games again in the offseason. But right now, it's just focused on let's find a way to beat these guys because it's gonna be a tough game.
You obviously made some coaching changes last year at this time, right after week 18. How do you think the coaching staff overall, your evaluation of them? I know you have one more game left.
Yeah,
Just how things
really excited about the direction these guys are going. A lot of the new guys were on defense, O-line guys. Really pleased with how they've just fit as a staff, the type of people they are, the type of workers they are, their football IQ, their ability to work well with others and adapt to scheme and have great ideas. And I think that we've got a really strong collection of coaches that I always feel this way, that over the next 10 years, you're going to see unbelievable things from everybody on the staff. And I see them every day and know what they're capable of, and don't ever want to lose any of them because I think that we have a really, really, really strong coaching staff. Thank you.